Hello. Hello, everyone. Hello, everyone. And thank you for joining us today. You can give us a hi or a hello in the chat box. Hello, everyone. And please let us know where you're from. Well, we can see we already have Camis from Egypt. We also have Maria Inés. Maria Inés, you can tell us where you're from. We'll be delighted to know where you're all from. And thank you very much for joining us today. Make yourselves comfortable, and maybe you'd like to have some water or a cup of tea around you, or maybe you'd like to have pen and paper to write some notes. Good morning. Hello. You can
Hi,
see
Elena.
we've got, yeah, Elena from Moldova and Russia from Egypt as well. And people from Moscow. Wow. We are reaching out across the globe already. That's wonderful. Macedonia. Well, that's great. Well, to let you know a little bit more about us, we've got, Gustavo from Buenos Aires, Argentina. Welcome, Gustavo, as well. Um, as I was telling you, to let you know a little bit more about us, my name is Montserrat Costa, and I'm a teacher trainer for Oxford University Press based in Spain, in Barcelona. And I'm very glad to be joined by Erica Osvath. Erica, hi.
Hi.
Tell us a little bit about you.
Well, I'm also a teacher trainer, and author.
Mhm.
I co-wrote a book with Ed Dudley called Mixed Ability Teaching. And I live in Hungary, just outside Budapest, a beautiful
Wow.
city, which,
Yeah, it must be.
uh,
I'd love to go someday.
yeah,
Wonderful. Not
please
sure
do.
if you have someone from Hungary here. If you are, please say hi. And Erica will
Hello,
be very happy.
Kathleen.
Yeah, Kathleen, great. People from Brazil, Claudia, Chaka from Algeria, Peru, Susana, Ana, Lilia from Mexico. That's wonderful. Charak from Japan as well. Thank you very much for joining us today. Um, well, as I was telling you, we are very glad to have you here today to talk about classroom management and group dynamics for teenagers. And we've received many questions from you all around different topics about classroom management and group dynamics, because I think it's like a very important topic in any class, a very basic but very important topic. Do you agree, Erica?
Absolutely, especially nowadays when a lot of teaching is online or hybrid, um, which causes a lot of issues and difficulties both for teachers and students. So it's definitely something to think more about and talk more about how to help our students and how to help ourselves in the situation.
Yeah, totally agree. Well, we've got another Erica from Hungary, Jose from Nicaragua. Thank you for joining us. As we said before, we've received many questions from you. Thank you very much for your interest in the topic. And we group them in subtopics around classroom management and group dynamics. And we're going to try to address as many as possible. And one of the questions that kept repeating was about grouping. Is there a good or a perfect way of grouping students? Shall we let them sit where they want? Is there any objective that we should have in mind when grouping students? Because this will lead to how the classroom will behave. Right, Erica, what do you think about this? Because
Absolutely.
some people like Julian from Japan and Elena from Italy were asking us about. So I think it's important to talk about it.
Yeah, and we also had Ana Paula from Brazil asking similar questions about how best to organize these groups. Well, I think that it very much depends on your aim. So if your aim is to give them, for example, speaking practice, such as a role play,
Mm-hmm.
um, or some kind of skills work. So if you're doing skills work, then I would say that the most efficient groupings are where the students are of similar abilities. So
I see.
put together sort of less able or shyer students with shyer students, or more confident students with more confident students. So in this way, both students can benefit from that skills practice. But if your aim is language work, so for example, working on a grammar exercise or a vocabulary exercise, then I think that it's a good idea to have mixed groups, or mixed
Hmm.
men, where they can learn from each other. A stronger student can teach the weaker student, and they can learn a lot from each other actually in this way.
Yeah, I totally agree. That's really interesting. And if you teachers joining us today would like to comment on this, on how you group your students, if you follow a similar way of grouping as Erica just told us, just share with us. Let us know what you do. So yes, Erica, I think it's really important to group students depending on your objectives. Because one of the questions that we had as well was about some students being a little bit shy.
Mhm.
And that person was asking, how can I do it to help those shy students to feel more comfortable or maybe more confident to speak out and collaborate with the rest,
Yeah.
right? Is
So
that?
for example, as I said earlier, when it comes to speaking, for example, and say you're doing a mutual dictation activity, it's
Mm-hmm.
better if you have shyer or quieter students paired up with quieter students, because they have similar vibes. They would very much understand each other and be able to work better together. Whereas if you have had like a very confident student who would be domineering a little
Mm-hmm.
bit, then the shy student would be even more withdrawn. Um, Another thing that I think it's important when it comes to decisions about groupings is to sometimes also consider not just language aims, but also sort of life skills. So what are
Mm-hmm.
the life skills that you're teaching your students, or you're giving them practice in, through pair work or group work, or when you're deciding on these collaborative activities? And I think it's very important for them to learn how to collaborate, how to
Mm-hmm.
listen to each other, um, how to be patient with each
Mm-hmm.
other.
Absolutely, that's really interesting, and I think we can come back to this. We have a question from Chaka from, well, I don't know where he is, Chaka Hamdi, and he was asking us about online classroom management, and I think that's really interesting. We actually have a focus paper, very interesting on teaching online, which I think might be really, really interesting for you, Chaka, as well. So please free to access it, because this paper will give you some ideas, and also another paper on managing online teaching, which I think they both supplement each other. And on online teaching, we should also pay attention to different things, right, Erica?
Absolutely. There's a lot of things to manage in an online class, and sometimes I think the most difficult thing that also teachers commented on is how to engage students and how to keep their attention. Um, so there's lots of things you can do in that area too. Monse, have you got any tips for that?
Well, to keep students' attention online,
Mhm.
well, I think it is difficult, obviously. And some of the questions that we were sent were about how can I have them with the cameras on and listening to me. I think there was some people like Walid from Saudi, Aisha from Sri Lanka, how to keep attention. It is
Yeah,
very difficult, but it's important to keep adding different like activities to not to lose them, so that they don't lose the attention. They keep listening to us. And some of the activities you can do um, are linked to active activities. So if we ask them to do something
Hmm.
and to show us something, then they're more likely to have the camera on. So, for example, if you ask them to bring something around the house and show you,
Hmm.
it seems like a very simple kind of activity, but it is engaging, it is active, and if you maybe allow some extra points or any extra, I don't know, some kind of reward, like a praising or something like that, it's even better. I don't know if you have any other activity that would you like to share.
Yeah. Well, some of these, I just remembered one idea. That which you can connect to this idea that show me something, bring something that, and I think it's very important, especially in teenagers class, uh, to feel appreciated and to feel that they are noticed as
Yes.
people. So if you say things like, bring something that makes you happy, or
Mm.
bring the first object you I don't know, that put a smile on your face today,
Oh,
um,
yes.
or simple things like this that are connected to some kind of positive emotion, um, and in that way, they become a lot more engaged, not just with themselves but with the
Hmm.
class as well, and um, with you and with the whole group, and then they can see how they have different ideas and different things that makes them either relaxed or happy or smiley. um, yeah, just like
Yeah.
my said, bringing in
Yeah.
an object that matters somehow to them, so it's not just an
Yeah.
object that, yeah, especially with little ones, you can say bring a pen that's blue, or show me something white. But I think with teenagers, it's good, it's a good idea to connect it to feelings as well.
That's wonderful, and especially where in a group of teenagers, feelings are not shown probably as much as they should be shown, right?
Yeah.
And I think the online setting sometimes it can be more difficult, but at the same time, if the student's shy, they might feel not as threatened in a way or not as challenged if they can share and well that object or that idea because it's just a little moment then they can hide again. I
Yeah.
don't know, I think
And it's also not,
linking.
yeah. Sorry, Moses. And it's also not connected to language, but it's something that they can show without having to speak,
Yeah.
but still feeling connected to the rest of the group and to themselves.
Yeah,
Um,
absolutely.
and another idea that I do regularly, and I always do it at the beginning of the lesson, and sometimes even in the middle of the lesson, just when I notice that they're falling apart, or I don't know where they are because they've got their cameras off. I ask them to. I do a quick check-in,
Mm-hmm.
like energy level check-in.
Yep.
So basically, I say, now. Put in the chat box a number between 1 and 10, representing your energy level. So 1 for very low energy,
Good.
and 10 for wow. And then they put all these numbers, and they can see how they're feeling, and that's okay. So even if it's 2, yeah, it's yeah. So you can maybe
Yeah, of
ask them,
course.
why is it 2? What happened? Are you okay? So it gives you definitely an opportunity to connect to each other and just be who you are, the way you
Yeah.
are, because that's okay.
That's okay, and that's where it should be.
Exactly.
Of course, of
Yeah.
course. Well, that's wonderful. I really agree with you. This link with your feelings and emotions, and I also think this helps create like a good atmosphere in the classroom, whether it is online or face to face, and getting to know each other. If you don't feel particularly well at some point, or if you feel great because you've had like a great week, this is also good, and this is also something that can create those bonds between students and between the teacher and the students. Look, Tarak is telling us that, in his opinion, it's important to read students and understand their individualities. In the beginning, maybe it would make them feel more comfortable if they knew what we are teachers are asking. Thank you very much, Tarak, for your comment. It's a very interesting topic, this one about feelings and being seen and being heard by the teacher.
Absolutely.
Right?
I think this is one of the most important ones in a teenager's class. And
Yeah.
just going back to we're talking about the ways of getting attention.
Mhm.
I think that what I find that most students don't even realize how much our attention, not just our students' attention, but our own attention has been destroyed and taken apart by all these different gadgets and devices that
Yes.
social media here and there, which completely destroyed. Basically, attention is energy, so you're giving energy to things that don't really matter that much, or not as much as we think that it would.
Mm-hmm.
So it is very important to talk about attention. So why is it beneficial? Getting students to notice and talk about why it's important to pay attention. How long can they do that for? How
Mm-hmm.
can they practice it? How can they deal with all these distractions so that they don't keep looking at their phones when they really should be listening to each other or to you as a teacher. So bring it out in the open, talk about it, and then also give students practice. I think
Mm-hmm.
that's very important, to give them practice in paying attention and also highlighting it. So now let's practice paying attention.
This is
Um,
great. Yeah. Actually, Laura is telling us that taking the time to create a relaxed atmosphere, refresh values, some videos if they are tired. This reminds me of brain breaks. I'm sure that you teachers and Erica for sure use brain breaks. Are you familiar with this? Can you share with us if you use brain breaks and which brain breaks are really useful for you? Please share so that the whole community can learn from you. Um, well, brain breaks are actually breaks from the regular path of the class. They are very short. They usually are linked to movement, so the with the body really, and they help first of all change the focus to something different, help activate the body. When the body activates, blood flow activates too, and in this way, the brain gets refreshed. And when the brain break finishes, you are more likely to be attentive and to follow the class. So I think those are really, really important little activities. And if you have, as I said, teachers, if any of you has any brain break to share, that would be great. Erica, I know you have some brain breaks.
yeah.
Okay, can you tell us one?
Well, there's a number of brain breaks you can use, but what one that I would like to share with you, I would ask you to try it with me, okay?
Yes,
So,
please.
Monse, can you join in?
Sure.
So, just
Yes.
do what I do, okay?
Okay.
So, show me your hands. And now put your right hand on your nose and your left hand on your right ear.
Okay. Good.
And now your left hand on your nose and your right hand on your left ear.
On my left. Yes.
And now keep alternating.
Oh no, it's the other way round. Okay. Like this. The other way
Yeah,
around. Like this. As you can see, this is quite difficult.
keep
Are you trying
alternating
with us? Teachers, tell us if you are quick at this.
like that. Basically, I normally ask students to do it at least 20 times, but really paying attention to touching with the right hand, the right, ear or nose, right body part. And it's fun.
Mhm.
It really helps them connect the two parts of the brain. It does
Yes.
re-energize you. Yeah, absolutely. It does work. Uh, it 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 basically re-energizes your brain.
Yes.
And after that, students will be better able to focus on something else. But equally, if you just get them to, okay, now everyone stretch, turn around, and just get everyone to do it. And of
Yeah.
course, you doing it yourself as well. That's like a quick way to energize your body and brain, as you
Yeah.
said.
And as Michaela says, it works. It works really well. Now, if you stretch a little bit, you feel more comfortable, more energized. I think someone was asking about Alexander, the definition of a brain break. A brain break is a short activity, usually related to movement, which breaks the path of the session. So when you start your class, you teach, students do activities, and at some point when you want to stop, to reset a little bit, maybe to change to another topic or activity, or just maybe because your students feel tired because they've been thinking and talking and doing lots of intellectual things. So to go from the intellectual to the bodily, you do these brain breaks, very short as Erica showed us. The brain break I do as well, which is very similar to this one, and it's like or like this. Would you like to join me, Erica?
uh,
Okay, so your right or your left hand up, the other like horizontally, and you have
mhm.
to move them like this.
Mm.
Right? This is working because I've been practicing.
Yeah,
For
I
me, this
really,
is a bit confusing, but it works because I have to concentrate only on this if I want it to work.
yeah.
So, okay,
Also,
great.
also if you wanted to do activities which help students or give students practice in focusing, which are connected to language,
Hmm.
you can do that too through very simple activities, such as fun dictation activities.
Hmm.
So, for example, you dictate sentences with a target structure that you're focusing on, but you ask them to write down the number of words they hear,
Good.
not exactly the words they hear, but just the number. And you dictate maybe five of these, maximum five of these, and they can only write down the number. After that, you put them in pairs and say, okay, now I'd like you to check your numbers with each other, whether whether they're right or wrong. And the trick is that while they're doing the checking and agreeing on whether 3 or 5 is the right number, they're trying to recall the sentence. So they can do this
Mm,
well if they are really paying attention. So it's
mm.
another kind of very quick, short language activity that also involves practicing paying attention.
That's very interesting. And well, Erica knows a lot about those activities, and you can also check her book, Mixed Ability Teaching. I've got it here. You
Ooh!
see, I got it at last. It's really,
Uh,
really interesting with lots of practical activities, ideas, and some things that make you think, which is something I especially like. Um, Tega was asking about activities, ice-breaking activities in a first online speaking class. Do you have any suggestions? Anything maybe that's in your book, Erica,
yeah, there's a great
or
number of
or not?
activities in the book as well. Well, one that I really like that again helps students connect is I am you. So
Hmm.
basically, I put on the board or I write on the on a Google Doc, I am you, and then I put students in pairs. They and I get them to just look at each other, and maybe it doesn't matter whether they know each other or not, even if it's a first class of a first year. um, just look at each other, and then try to think of what the other person might be like. And then I put sentence stamps, like sentence starters, like, yesterday I went to the my
Hmm.
favorite hobby is um, I really hope to, and then so whatever grammar structure you're working with, whether that's used to or going to or past tenses, so you can put sentence stems using that structure,
Mhm.
and then ask students to fill it in for each other, or as if they were the other person. So they really have to build
Mm.
on their empathy, and to try and imagine what it would be like to be in the shoes of the other person. um,
Wow.
and then that's a kind of nice way to connect with each other, and it's kind of fun as well, because after that they get to um, check with each other what's true, what's not true, and
Yeah.
they usually can guess pretty well a lot of things about the other person, even without knowing a lot about the other person. So it's a nice icebreaker as well.
Yeah, thank you, Eric, and thank you, Itat, as well for your
Mhm.
comment. Another icebreaker that I like, it can be face to face or online if you have the possibility of having breakout rooms, and it's quite similar. It's try to find as many common things as you have with a
Mhm.
person in your pair, right? And it can be about food or hobbies or sports. I mean, anything. The idea is to talk to each other, trying to find out as many common things and hobbies and maybe ideas that they
Mhm.
have.
Mhm.
And I think this kind of activity is really useful for those classes where they probably don't know each other, or if they know each other and there are some toxic relationships, or that you can see that something can go on. It's interesting to start creating those bonds between students, because I think that the more you know someone, the less you want to be in a bad situation with that person, and creating, as we were saying at the very beginning, this uh, atmosphere, this secure atmosphere, this like good environment for in the class. I think this helps with both relationships, and this really helps with learning as well. I think um,
Yeah. I
it's the
just
best ground.
remembered, yeah, I just remembered this coming back to, working together in pairs to teach them some life skills. I remembered something about, well, it's a personal story or something that happened to my daughter. She came home upset because she was put to work in pairs with,
Mm,
with someone she didn't particularly like, and she couldn't really work with because she had a slight learning disability, and her being very smart and quick, she just wanted to move on and do stuff quickly. Um, and um, and um, and then we talked about it, like what, how does she feel and why, and how she could help herself to sort of still be able to work. But she said, no, 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 mom, I can't go on like this for weeks, and I have to work with her for weeks. And said, well, we'll see, we'll see. And then at the end of this process, she came home and said, "Mom, I'm just so happy that I was actually forced to work with her, because I learned a lot about her. I learned about what helps her and what are the things that I could do to help her, and above all, I learned to be patient." And I thought,
wow.
yeah, that was so fantastic that she actually said that about herself. And she realized that there's so much learning going on that we can
Mm.
do in these instances, and in these parent group activities.
Yeah, and it's not only academic learning, which is what we would expect, but learning, I think, about relationships, collaborating. Actually, Rosa from Argentina was also asking about collaboration. And I think, yeah, talk about tolerance as well. And I think collaborating in the class is key to develop those relationships, but also to learn. So it's both ways, right?
Yeah, and I think that this was the question about how to reinforce collaboration and the skills
Hmm.
of collaboration. Yeah, I think it's very, and it also links to Taichir Makhroub's question
Hmm.
about working individually or together if they're maybe misbehaving. I think it feels very bad if you let them work on their own. So I think it's a it's good if you don't leave them out, but you put them in pairs. If they're misbehaving, obviously we need to, or disruptive, then we need to
Hmm.
find out the reason. Maybe you can talk to them, um, and find out why they're being disruptive. What is it? Usually they're seeking your attention. That's what they're looking for your attention, and for your love, basically.
Mm.
So one idea to give them that attention and love is this 10 by 2 idea, which was described by a Polish researcher, psychologist. I think it's it is in our book, but I can't remember his name now. And basically, the idea is that if there is a disruptive student in your
Mhm.
class, then over 10 consecutive times, at the end of the lesson, go up to that person and just chat for 2 minutes,
Mm.
uh, but have like a very informal chat about anything but English in school. Yeah. So make it so that the student feels, as we said earlier, noticed, um,
Mhm.
and cared for and listened to. So you can talk about football or the weather, or the latest something that that he might like, or how was his day or his weekend, anything. And of course, at the beginning, they're going to be suspicious, like, what does she want,
What does she
from
want
me?
now?
And that's quite normal, because they're not used to this kind of attention. But that's exactly what they need.
Yes.
And by the end of this process, by sort of the ninth or 10th occasion of doing this, they'll just relax, and they'll actually appreciate how that, gosh, you are a normal person who really
Mm.
has noticed that I am here, and I have things to say, and they're interested in me as a person.
Yes. And that you are not only obsessed about language and about grades and about your subject, but that you are, as you said, a person, maybe a person to go to if something happens. Why not? So
Absolutely.
it
and
is
and
really,
and
really interesting.
yeah, and what I noticed that after this, usually they stop being disruptive, because they know that they do have your attention,
Yeah.
um,
And they
and
bring all their problems as well to the class. I mean, we are all humans, so we as teachers and them as students, they bring the good things and their problems and everything. And sometimes something can be going on with that student. As you said, if you approach them, if you talk to them without feeling very suspicious, as you said, I'm sure that this will be something that they would appreciate eventually. Maybe not at the very beginning, but eventually. That's very interesting. There was also a question about the different levels of performance in the class. So different levels of language, and sometimes of some students struggle a lot when in the class using English, and some others are very good at it, or maybe they're even bilingual. So what can we do in that situation? What ideas can we give teachers? I don't know, teachers, if you feel in this situation. We got some questions from, I think it was Rachel from Spain, and different people asking us about this difference in level.
Yeah, and Jana from Czech Republic.
Uh,
Yeah, well, with mixed ability classes, I think the thing that always works for me is project work, where I
mhm,
put them in groups based on their interest. So I don't organize these groups based on language level or language work, but based on what they're interested in. So I put together the people who are interested in, I don't know, football, or those
mm,
who are interested in music, or and then and we do a project based on the common topic, based on the topic of their interest. Um, and within these groups, then of course you can have roles like such as timekeeper, person who's going to take notes, a person who's going to be the spokesperson, a person responsible for language
yes.
accuracy. So maybe the stronger student can be the one responsible for language accuracy, checking whether it's correct enough, or it's fluent enough, or whether you can make the description more colorful in English.
Mhm,
Um, and allowing the students within each group, after you give them their different roles, then getting them to choose the role that they would like to be responsible for. And in
mhm,
this way, you're also teaching them how to take responsibility for what they're doing, and
yes.
how to take responsibility towards the outcome, towards the common goal that they're working on in this collaborative group.
Of
Um,
course. And how
so
this affects to the rest. So the decisions affect the rest of the group. So I think that's really interesting, and that's learning for life, because this is the way we work in many situations, right? Collaborating, I think, and this links to um, the soft skills we were saying at the very beginning, learning to collaborate and to work together. That's wonderful. And project work is such an interesting methodology. Maria Inés was telling us that she's very much into project based learning,
mm,
because it's an active methodology which involves students being on the spot, being the focus of their learning. It's not just sitting back and listening to the teacher. Wah, wah, wah. No, no, it's being active, being responsible for the learning, and not only individually but as a group. I think that's great. That's a great learning experience.
yeah.
That's wonderful. Um, I think we covered many of these topics. I'm not sure if teachers have any more questions, because I think we covered most of the questions you sent us. Maybe one last thing on motivation, and I also wanted to tell you that we have a very interesting professional development module on classroom management with lots of ideas. And that's wonderful. And here you have the link. You can check it right now if you want. So maybe what we can do, Erica, is that you tell us something about motivation, how to motivate students in class.
Yeah, this is especially difficult nowadays with the
Mm,
online teaching, and especially as Michaela said, that if you have a great number of students, mixed abilities, oh yeah, um, with different kinds of learning disorders, a typical state school situation where you have a great number of classes, it's not very easy to do that, and it can be very hard both for teachers and students.
yes.
Um, And then how do you keep them motivated? Well, um, um, of course, this is a huge topic, and we could talk about it, for weeks, I would say. But one of the most important things is, I think, that uh, first of all, you ask them to set a personal goal, and this is going to be different from individual to individual. We're all different people, so not all our students are going to become English teachers or linguists. So it's very important at the beginning of the year to ask them to identify their own goals. What is it that they would like to be able to do in English by the end of the year, or in 2 years time, or 5 years time? And just get them to write it down, or even draw it. Imagine
Mhm.
themselves at the end of the year and draw themselves in a situation where they're speaking English at the level they want to do, whether they want to do it well, or at the level they want to do it. And then just describe that situation to each other, and talk about their own goals. What is it that they would like to achieve? And then also get them to think about, now that you have your goals, you looked at each other's goals within groups and as a class. Let's look at what we can have as a class goal. What is
Mhm.
common? Um, and then also, in that sense, everybody's going to be happy with themselves, that they can feel okay with not having the same goal as the other person. Typically, teenagers have issues, with their self-image,
Mhm.
and they have too high expectations towards themselves. So this would, put this type of expectation um, to its right place, where it belongs to. So feeling okay with themselves and with their own goals. Um, and then, also seeing what the path is towards the goals, and how they can achieve their own goals. So then talking about, okay, now let's look at how we can achieve the common goals as a class, and how you can achieve your personal goals as an individual. So that's I think key in being able to motivate.
That's wonderful. That's wonderful. Thank you, Erica. And I think this is also helpful for classes with mixed abilities as well, and with different levels, as No Pan Van was asking. So I hope this really helps all of you, all these ideas. And well, I think we are finishing our time here. Thank you very much for joining us. If you liked this session, please like it. You can like it with your button here. If you loved it, love it. We will be very, very happy that you share this session as well with your friends and colleagues. If you think there's uh, a teacher who couldn't attend, who'd like to see and who'd like to listen to these conversations, who'd like to see your comments, please tag them here and comment on this session, because I'm sure that will be really useful for them and also for us. We also want to make these sessions all about you. So you are our teaching community, you are part of this, and we want you also to tell us what you want to hear more about next. Tell us maybe topics you're interested in, methodologies you'd like to know more about, and also make sure that you're following us as well, so you don't miss any of the sessions we've got coming up. You can follow us at OUPELT Global, OUPELT Global on Facebook, Twitter, or YouTube. And last but not least, a huge, huge thank you to Erica Osvath. Thank you, Erica, for joining us today. It's been wonderful to talk to you. I'm sure we could have been talking for a long while, but well, it's been really, really helpful, really interesting. I've learned many things today, and I hope you teachers could also learn, and we loved that you shared your ideas as well. Well, thank you very much and see you soon.
See ya.
Bye.